Hello and a very good morning. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Nikita Ravdani and I'm the founder of Travel Gyan. Today we have with us Dan Chappelle all the way from Seattle. Dan, thank you so much for being with us from the other side of the world.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. It's a pleasure too. And today, Dan would give us a wonderful insight on how to be better than before, reimagining your travel business. Dan is the founder of the Wealthy Travel Agent Academy. His luxury and sales centric business development programs are proven to deliver results and sought after by some of the largest retailers in the travel industry. He is the author of the Amazon best selling book, Get Your Ship Together: The Wealthy Travel Agent Guide to Sales, which has inspired thousands to reach their full potential. So, to know more about Dan, please visit www.wealthytravelagent.com. And as for us, we can't wait for Dan to get started. So, over to you, Dan. Thank you once again for joining in.
Well, thank you very much, Nikita, and thank you so much for having me, guys. It's been a wow, what a couple of years it's been. I was very fortunate to be with you about this time a year ago. A lot has happened, a lot has changed in the industry, for better and for worse, both in sickness and in health, and so on and so on and so on. This has been an experience like no one has in our lifetime, and hopefully our children's lifetimes or anyone else's will ever have to go through again. It has been obviously devastating for our industry. It's been devastating for the world. And right now, we're in a position that as travel professionals and being in the industry, things are going to change. Things are starting to come back in certain parts of the world, not as much in others, and then it's actually taken a few steps back in some areas, like here in the United States. But at the end of the day, we all have to be better. When this is all said and done, we have to come back better, stronger, and more positive than we've ever been before. And that's kind of the focus of our presentation tonight: is be better. What can we do to be better? How do I advance my next? There we go. Okay, so we'll start off with, as I always start off. Those of you familiar with my presentations, I love to start everything off with this slide, this quote. It's basically on a bumper sticker from Peter Drucker, who is the guru of travel management. Basically started the industry and the practice of travel consulting and travel management, or I'm sorry, not travel management, but business consulting and business management. But it basically says this: the purpose of a business is to create and keep a customer. It's simple as that. The sole purpose of a business, your business, a car business, any business out there, is to create and keep a customer. And so we have to stay focused on that piece of the puzzle right there, because we want to focus on doing the fundamental things right. We want to focus on doing the little things well that add up to the big things. And it all starts with keeping it simple. And that is the purpose of your business. Any business is to create and keep a customer. So I want to ask you a question. And I want you to think about this, not just tonight, but this might take some thought to go into, to be able to really come up with a good, solid answer for you and your being here in this business. Are you in the travel business, or are you in the business of selling travel? Now, there is a huge difference here, and let me just kind of explain what this is. If you're in the travel business, that means you have no focus. You're probably just playing around with it. You're just trying to figure things out. You might just be booking stuff for friends and family and things like that. But if you're in the business of selling travel, meaning you have created a sales focused business whose product happens to be travel, Well, now that is a different paradigm. That's a different way of looking at it, and it becomes more professional. And the way we're going to get out of this pandemic, the way you're going to help yourself get out in a much better way is to approach what you're doing from a business standpoint than what I would, for lack of another term, use is more of a hobbyist standpoint. If you're in the travel business, you know what? You're not taking it as seriously. But if you're in the business of selling travel, well, you're somebody that's going to be a force to be reckoned with. And you can tell those companies and those individuals, you can spot them pretty easily. They're the ones who are out there focused on, building their business up, prospecting, marketing, doing the things that they have to do to sell the product. Not necessarily discounting either, but doing the things that most people aren't willing to do to be able to sell the product. So it's building a business with a focus on a product that you're selling, which happens to be travel. Now, we know that this much is true. The effects of this virus on our economy worldwide, they aren't going to go away anytime soon. We, in certain parts of the world, I'm going to use the United States because that's where I am, for example, we went through a very, very rough time. The vaccines came out. We started getting the vaccines. The state that I live in, we're about 70% vaccinated. I'm personally vaccinated and would encourage anyone who has the opportunity to, if you haven't already, to become vaccinated. That's the only thing that's really going to help us get through all of this. But the effects aren't going to go away. They're going to continue to get into every piece of our economy. We're having restaurants that are going out of business because there's not enough truck drivers to bring the food products to the restaurant so that they can cook them and eat them. They don't have enough waiters or waitresses to be able to sell it. Travel professionals, dog groomers, here in the United States, one thing we're having trouble getting our dogs groomed because everybody got a dog because they were stuck at home. And so now they have to get their dogs groomed. So getting them in is tough to do, but yet there's not enough dog groomers out there to do it. So a lot of the things are happening out there that are affecting different parts of the economy worldwide, locally, and then of course, just as we think we're coming back, then the COVID-D, the Delta variation comes out and kind of knocks us back a little bit on our heels. But we're all kind of sticking to, because we've gotten into the habit of doing a lot of the things right, social distancing, wearing masks, things like that. Although it is having a strong effect on all of us, it may or may not be, depending on where you are, may not be as big of an impact on us as it was when the virus first came out. A lot of that is a learning curve. But just like after 9/11, which unfortunately was just the 20th anniversary was just recently, there are a lot of things that happened because of 9/11 for us traveling and flying that are still happening. Same thing is going to happen as the effects of the virus, and it's going to be with us for a number of years. This is not something that's just going to go away. We're going to it's going to take some time for us to pull ourselves out of it. And those that are really focused on building a business versus just, a hobbyist in the business are the ones that are going to really excel and get back to where they were before, or even much better, because we have to be better. We have to do a better thing, because it's not going to be business as usual. As much as people want to make that happen, and I see it all the time. I see, I get the emails from all over the world, really, from travel businesses that are offering trips for discounted rates. I don't understand why that's happening. And we're going to talk more about that here in a minute. But it's because they think they haven't adjusted the way they do business. They keep doing it the way they were. And long term, they're going to fail from it. And so it's not going to just be business as usual. You have to be better than you were before all of this. You have to be. There's no question that going forward, we have to be more engaged, more knowledgeable, and look at it from a different angle than what we did before. Not only do you have to be better, your clients are going to demand it. They are going to focus their efforts. They're going to want to spend their money where they're going to get the most value from it. And most value doesn't mean the cheapest. It doesn't mean the one that offers the biggest discount. It's going to be the one that provides the best service, the most knowledgeable service and expertise that helps them have the best vacation experience that they have. Your competitors are going to demand it. Okay, your competitors are going to be out there forcing you to be better than what you were. That's what's so great about this, is those that get it are going to really pursue it as well. But it's not just your clients, and it's not just your competitors. Your suppliers, the people that you work with day in and day out, the products that you sell and market each day, they're going to demand that you be better. Larry Pimentel, who's formerly the CEO of Seabourn Cruises and most recently Azamara Cruises, he gave up his position earlier in the pandemic so that other people within the organization would not, there'd be money there for them to keep their jobs for at least a while, said this: agents who create revenue will be cultivated as they always have been. I don't necessarily believe that they will be cultivated as they always have been. I think that what's going to happen, and I'm starting to see this already, is that the industry is going to, instead of going to the larger organizations, they're going to focus more on the individual sellers of the travel, whether it's the individual agencies rather than the agency groups, and they're going to focus their efforts on, basically where their bread is buttered. Who is selling their product is going to be the recipients of the FAM trips, the co-op money, all the things the perks that were normally out there before, when everybody was flush with cash. They don't have as much money anymore. They're hurting as bad. The suppliers are hurting as bad, if not worse, than all of us are, because they're going through this constant rebooking and booking, and the same things that you've been doing, but it's their money that's really been affected there. So they're going to focus their limited resources on those that are actually producing. And so you have to be better than you were before. It's not if you can be, it's you have to be. Or if you should be, it's you must be, to be able to excel going forward in this business. So I want you to start thinking about doing, and many of you have probably done this over the last year or so, is start reimagining your business. What would it look like if it was exactly the way you really wanted it to be? We all get into it. We come in with lofty ambitions. We come in, with ideals, and we say we're not going to do certain things, and we end up, well, I'm never going to discount. I'm only going to sell my value. But then, so and so's down the street is offering it at a lower price, so you get into price matching, and so on and so on and so on. And over time, you just get caught up into that game. But we're in a unique position right now. Most of your business is probably canceled out. A lot of it is starting to come back. But it gives you the opportunity to really mold your business the way you want it to be. And we do that by focusing on the fundamentals. And I mean the fundamentals of business. They have not changed. The fundamentals of sales, the fundamentals of business, accounting, et cetera, have not really changed in hundreds of years, even thousands of years. The tools we use to make them happen, yes, those have evolved over time, but the basic fundamentals of what we need to do have not. And I think it's time that we really get back to those fundamentals, and not just in the travel industry, but in all industries. You're going to find that there's going to be a lot more focus on doing that. So right now, you have a tremendous opportunity in your business, in your life in general, to start afresh, to change what you've been doing in the last 5, 10, 15 years, however long you've been involved in the industry, and change it and mold it in the type of a business that you want to be. One of the things that so many of us get caught up in is, we do get started. We start out with those ideals, and we're going to have a certain type of business, and we end up, price matching and doing this and doing that, and then start taking phone calls from clients in the middle of the night and after hours and things like that, just, for a simple quote, but yet we jump, right? We jump. What we've given up is so much of our own personal freedom and so much of our lives that we're in a position now that we can start thinking about getting some of that back. So I want you to dream about what your business would look like in a perfect world. Think about that. This is not something that you're just going to do right now. This is some of the things you need to sit down and meditate on it or think about it and spend some hours behind this. What in an ideal world, what does your business look like? How would you function in it? You know, this is a tremendous opportunity for you to set boundaries in your business, because so many times the boundaries have been stepped over by your customers, by your suppliers, and your personal time just goes awry. There is no personal time. Everything that you do is focused on your business. Your family complains about it because you're not, you're getting called away from the dinner table, or you're taking calls when you should be on vacation and things like that, all to serve your customers. But if you set the boundaries, most of the time, your customers, your suppliers, everyone is going to respect those boundaries, okay? Because they want you. And we'll talk more about that here in a minute. They're doing business with you for a reason. So you have that ability to set the time where they can contact you during normal office hours. If it's after hours and it's emergency, otherwise it has to wait till the next day. And as long as you set that expectation with them, then you protect your own personal time. And for so many people that are just getting started or operate a home-based travel type of a business, this is where the boundaries get blurred. You can't just leave and go home from your office. You have to be there 24/7. So you have to set those boundaries. You have to be able to turn the phone off. You have to be able to close the computer so that you can spend the quality time with your families that they demand of you. Hopefully that all makes sense, because this is a big piece of it, is getting back your time. And you do that by focusing on the fundamentals of what we do, and focusing on the fundamentals of a sales-based travel business. Remember, are you in the travel business, or are you in the business of selling travel? Big difference, big paradigm shift, and all of that kind of fits into where this fundamental operation comes from. The one thing that we don't want to do, excuse me, the one thing we don't want to do is fall back into our old habits. Everything that we were doing prior to COVID coming out and hitting and devastating our industry, those old habits we want to leave in the box. We don't want them to come out. We have a tremendous opportunity here, and it boils down to basic economics of supply and demand. And I wanted to just read this to you, so that I want this to sink in. If there is a decrease in the supply of goods and services while demand remains the same, and I would insert or higher, prices tend to rise to a higher equilibrium price and a lower quantity of goods and services. Basically, this is simple supply and demand metrics, meaning if there is lower supply and increased demand, that means the prices will be higher, and that means there are more people out there to purchase the products, okay? And at a higher price, which means your commissions or your fees will be paid at a higher price. It doesn't mean that you turn around and you discount them. It means that you're going to get what you deserve out of that. And it's going to take some discipline to do this. But right now, the demand for travel services in particular far outweighs the supply. I mean, if you think about this, let's take cruises, for instance. The major cruise lines, Carnival Corporation, Royal Caribbean Corporation, they all took their older tonnage, their older ships, and sold them off for scrap metal, okay? So you had a fewer berths coming out then. Now, a couple of ships have come out in the meantime to add back into that. But the reality of it is most cruise lines are only operating at about 25% occupancy, and will be for the foreseeable future. Most resorts and hotels are operating at 25 to 50% occupancy. So what that means is that there is a lot more demand, because the number of people who want to go on cruises, the number of people who want to go on vacation to these resorts and hotels is high. It's getting higher and higher and higher. It's particularly the more that people have been cooped up in their homes over the years, is they want to get out, they want to travel, and they are willing to pay the price to do it. I'll give you a good example. It's the supply and demand equation here. Hawaii is a huge vacation destination. Many of you have probably been there yourselves. Excuse me. Um, Back when the COVID crisis first started, the rental car companies decided they needed to move a lot of the rental cars that they had on the islands and move them back to the States or into Asia, where they would most likely be able to rent them out. Well, what happened then was very few cars are still on the islands. Now it's started to open back up. The demand is there. People are coming. Well, what's happened on the islands is rental cars are now where they were going for between $500 and $1,000 a month or a week, I should say. They're now going for $3,000 a week to $5,000 a week, to the point that the demand is so high and the prices are so high and people are paying them that you have a whole subset of people who can't afford that are going out and they're buying U-Haul rental trucks and using that as their transportation on the island because it's so much cheaper than what the rental cars are. So they're thinking outside of the box there. Renting vans and sleeping on the beach, because if you've got a fishing pole, that means that you're allowed to camp on the beach, which means that they're not paying the exorbitant prices that the hotels are charging. But you do have a very large number of people who are willing to pay for those goods and services that are out there. So one of the things that I am going to highly encourage you not to get back into, not a habit not to fall back into, is competing on price. Okay, the only price you should be competing on is apples to apples, not discounting out of your commission to try and get business or thinking that that's going to sway it, because the reality of it is that one of the changes that you're going to see, one of the ways you've got to be better, is adding more value of who you are to that overall equation and what your clients are going to get out of their experience with you. You can't do that at a discounted price to be and maintain a high level of service to them. It's just economically it doesn't work that way. I can tell you another quick story that happened to me years ago when, and I'll get to that later. I'll get to that part later. It's a good story. It's one that makes perfect sense here. So let's talk about getting your ship together. Now that's the title of my best-selling book on Amazon. Here's a shameless plug. Just go to Amazon and Google put my name in there, Dan Chappelle, and it will pull up Get Your Ship Together, the Wealthy Travel Agent Guide to Sales. And it goes back and focuses on the fundamentals of a sales-based organization that sells travel and can help you get there. So that's my shameless plug. But one of the things that we have to do in order to be able to provide that type of service to our clientele is, here's a quote from Oprah Winfrey, and she's not the first to say this, but in order to create the highest and grandest vision possible for your life, and I would insert, and your business, it's because you become what you believe. So you have to believe in what you're doing, the mission behind it, and everything that you are, in order to truly provide the level of service and expertise that you want to your clientele, because they're going to want to buy into you. So beliefs are anchored in your mindset. You know what you can believe is, and you can achieve, is all about what goes on in your head. That's really the only difference between really successful people and those that aren't. It's what they believe, how their mind functions, and what, focusing on the positive and the can-do part of it versus the negativity. So we want to make sure that our beliefs are anchored in our mindset. Beliefs plus knowledge equals confidence. If you struggle with confidence, get your beliefs in order. Make sure you've got plenty of knowledge, whether it's knowledge of particular products or destinations or services. but make sure that you know so much about that you're comfortable carrying on a conversation with anyone out there, and that you believe that you are the best in the world at what you do. You got to start somewhere, and that's how you're going to get to that next level, and get, because if you believe and you have the confidence, your clients, your prospects are going to see that from a mile away, and they're going to seek you out. And that is really the ultimate thing that we're looking to do here, is have you be the travel professional that your prospects and clients seek out, versus just another number that they call, or another website that they visit there. So my question to you is this: do you believe? Do you believe in your abilities? Do you believe that you have the skill sets and the knowledge to be able to succeed in this business going forward? Do you believe in your products that you sell? Okay, do you know what it is and why you sell what you sell, and the value that you, more than anything else, bring to the whole thing? People will pay for the value. There's something that I've noticed a couple of times when I've been traveling is, I'll ask, because I use a travel professional to book a lot of my international travel, and they always say the same thing. I can get you the cheapest price at this hotel. And my question back to them is, well, what do I get for the cheapest price? Well, you get a garden view, or you get a view of the trash cans. Well, if I'm in Paris, I don't want a view of the trash cans. I will pay the extra in order to have the view of the Eiffel Tower. That's what, and there I am, like many, many people. When you go on vacation, you go on vacation to do to see things and to be a part of things, and to wake up in the morning and look out there with your cup of coffee and look at the Eiffel Tower, not look at the trash cans, or the trucks coming to pick them up in the backyard. That's the difference between just usually, a couple of bucks, or $100 here or there, whatever it is the difference between a mediocre or poor vacation experience, or the best vacation that you can ever have. There's a saying that's out there, and I believe it is: you can never spend too much on a vacation, but you can always spend too little. And I believe that, and because I have done it, I've experienced it, and people really and truly, when they're traveling, particularly internationally, are going to want that. You go on vacation to live better than you live at home, and that's what you're willing to spend on. Okay, let's move on to here. So now that we know what that's all about not falling backwards, what does the future look like? What does it entail? Well, this is my vision of the future, and so, if you'll allow me to expound on this a little bit, this is what I think you're going to need to be in a position to do to be able to excel in a very successful travel business. Number one, this is something that we talked about before the pandemic. It will continue to be talked about, is specialization. Okay. You can't be all things to all people. You can't know all things. If you try to be the department store, you're never going to make any money at this. You're strictly a volume thing. But if you become a specialist, what do you want to be known for? Think about that. What is it that you want to be so good at that people are going to seek out your services? It could be a particular destination. It could be a particular product line. It could be a particular cruise line, or hotel, or resort services, or the destination, Dubai, or what have you, where you become so familiar and so knowledgeable about that you become who is recognized in the industry, recognized in the magazines. You see those people that are out there for that. That's what you want to aspire to become. So what is it that you can become so good at that you're known for, and people are going to seek you out? Technology. I mentioned this earlier. The fundamentals of the business have not changed in hundreds of years. However, the technology, the tools that we have to work with have. So back in the 1970s and the 1980s, you had, toll-free numbers that you could call. Then we got email and fax machines, and then you got computers, and then you got email and direct mail, data processing and things like that developed into, now we're into text messaging and things. So the tools are changing as we go through this. The important thing is you want to use the technology to power your business, not to control it. What do I mean by that? Well, you want to use the tools to your advantage. You don't want to make it so automated or so that you lose that personal touch. I had a couple years ago, I had a business reach out to me that said, Dan, we can fully automate your sales funnel. Now, here I am, I'm a sales professional. Okay, that got my attention. You're going to fully automate my sales funnel so I don't have to talk to anybody, right? Right. Okay, great. So they sent me a note that said, fill out this form with your telephone number and we'll give you a call to discuss how this works. It's like, oh, really? So you are asking, you're trying to sell me a system that will fully automate my sales funnel, but yet you have to call me in order to fulfill yours. So it's like, it didn't work. It doesn't work. So you can't rely on things like that, particularly in the travel industry and being a travel sales professional. It's a people business. It's about relationships. So we use technology to help support us. Now we can automate some things and we can put some, after someone is booked with us, we can put some automated touch points in there and things like that. But at the end of the day, you still need to pick up the phone and talk to somebody. You still need to develop that relationship with them. You just use the technology for booking or in order to enhance those relationships, but not to control it. Future to me looks like no discounting. Is everybody going to buy into that? Absolutely not. In a perfect world, that's what we would have. I would be naive to say that it's not going to happen. But just know this, the fact is there is going to be 25 to 50% of the inventory available to sell worldwide than there was before the pandemic. But yet we have the same number, if not more, people that want to go on vacation. So why not take advantage of that? Don't cater to the discounters. Don't cater to the price shoppers. Make it a point as part of your business to cater to those that are willing to pay for the services and seek you out. At the end of the game, that's what it's all about. Prospecting and marketing. These are two totally different things. One is proactive prospecting. Proactive prospecting is where we're actually going out and soliciting and talking to people and asking for referrals and working with people to get additional customers coming into our funnels. Marketing is more of a reactive strategy. Most people will spend a lot more money on marketing than they will on prospecting, yet most of their clients will actually come through prospecting methods. Marketing, you're putting out, and they have to work together. Don't get me wrong, they work together. Excuse me, but marketing is going to help drive leads in. But in order to close those leads, you're still going to have to pick up the phone and call them or email them or however you communicate with them. You're still going to have to be proactive about doing that. People aren't just going to come in and book with you. Okay, it's just not going to happen. Not for most of us. We're not Expedia. We are providing a personalized service in there. And the way to make it work most efficiently is to have a very high efficient, high profile sales system at your disposal to be able to function and be able to process your prospects through a sales system quickly, efficiently, so that you can turn more prospects through the system on a daily basis than you typically would without it. So that's what the future looks like to me. It means developing into a sales focused organization, not just being a reactive order taking travel agency society, but being a true sales professional as it comes to this. And I think that's what we're going to see a lot of going out of there. So it all starts with this. It all starts with having a rock solid sales strategy, because everything that you do in your business needs to be in an alignment with this purpose and supporting this objective. And it comes down to four different headings here. The first one is financial. It's your travel business, whether you're on a salary, whether you own the company, doesn't matter what it is. You have income goals. You got to make a certain amount of money on it. So we got to determine what that is. And once you've determined how much you want to take out of the business, how much you want to earn from it, Then you need to set your revenue targets that will support that. Okay. And then in order to get there as well, it's a combination of sales and commission revenue versus expense management. The more efficiently you manage your expenses, the more money is freed up that you can keep for yourself. Second is prospects. Okay. We talk about the avatar. You might have seen the movie, but the avatar is really, who is your ideal client? What do they look like? What do they feel like? How old are they? What kind of professions are they in? Where do they like to travel? What kind of cars do they drive? Where do they live? The houses, everything about that. You want to just dial that in as close as you can. What does that ideal client look like? And a lot of this is a question that you have to ask yourself is, who do you want to do business with, and why do you want to do business with them? One of the things that when I started my sales training and consulting business was I didn't want to deal with jerks. I had to deal with enough of them, in my career that I didn't want to. So I became to the point where I could pick and choose who I wanted to do business with. And that is a true layer of success. That's a true, you can call yourself successful when you can do that. And it wasn't about money. It was about, who do I want to work with? And you can do that too with the people that you're dealing. You don't have to sell, travel to everybody. You can pick the clients that you want to work with, but you got to figure out who they are and why first, so that then you can target them through your prospecting and marketing efforts. Now, we talk about the next step is marketing. It's the brand called you. Okay. Why should a prospect seek you out? Why should they choose you? What is it that you represent? What is it that you represent to them? Is it expertise? Is it the level of knowledge? Is it the experience of having traveled to the destinations? Knowing, knowledge is power. And let me tell you, knowing the people in the destinations, particularly let's someone use Disney as an example. You go to Disney World in Orlando, Florida, and if you've been there and you've met, you should always go up and introduce yourself and meet the front desk manager and those, so that you can come back, and when you're selling that product, hey, I know so and so, Jane Doe, who is the front desk manager at the Grand Floridian. Let me send her a note and let her know that you're going to be coming, and then just kind of use that to your advantage, because that's how you succeed. You never succeed all by yourself, but it's using your network of contacts and knowledge that you have out there. So what do you represent? What is it about you? Why should they book their trips with you? And conversely, on top of that is, what brands are you going to represent? What products will support your financial brand and your client goals? So the story I was going to tell you earlier about was when I had my travel agency business. There was a cruise line that's no longer around anymore, but they came to us and they said, Dan, we want to pay you 25% commission, and we want to pay 100% of your marketing costs as it relates to our brand. And I'm like, okay, I was fairly new to the business at the time. I said, you know what? That's a great deal. I'm going to jump all over that. And so we did. And we started marketing this brand out there, and they paid it all, and they were paying us 25% commission. Well, the problem with this was, after a couple of months, we noticed that we were losing a ton of money every month when we should have been making a bunch of money. And the more I dug into it, and this goes back to the financial part of it, and the expense management, and picking a brand that will support what we do, the more I dug into it, I found that we were losing approximately 175 US dollars on every transaction that we did. Well, that was news to me. Well, why were we doing that? Well, it turns out when you're selling a product that's $2.99, $3.99, $4.99, even at 25% commission, the most you're going to make is $200 on it. And when you're dealing with people like that, they're not well traveled. So you spend a lot of time with them, and it much more so than you would if you were dealing with a higher end product. So because of what we were paying our agents, plus the overhead that goes with it, we were going in the hole on every one of it. So you need, the moral of this story is, you need to choose products that are going to support your financial goals. Okay, you've got to be able to make money on them when you sell them to your clients. Now, does that mean that it's the perfect one for your client? If they come in and ask for a certain thing, do you have to sell them what they ask for? No, that's called order taking. What you're ideally going to do is you're going to ask a lot of questions, and we're going to talk more about that in a minute. You're going to ask a lot of questions, and you're going to steer them into a brand that is one of your preferred suppliers that is definitely going to give them the type of experience that they want. But also, remember, you're a business person. It also is going to support your own financial goals as we come out of that, so that you make money on your transactions as you go through. Does all this make sense? Hope so. Okay, let's move on. So to start, what do you have to offer your clients or your prospects? Okay, first of all, you're the expert. You know, whether you need to be the most knowledgeable person in the room, you need to be the person that they seek out. Number two, you know, you want to have their best interests at heart. How do you know that? Well, you have to ask a lot of questions. Okay, you got to find out what's important to them, and why they're making the travel arrangements that they are. And then you need to make the decisions for them based on your experience and what they've shared with you. Now, I say that you need to make the decisions for them. They don't come to you because they know what they want or where they're going. They come to you because you are the one that has the knowledge and the expertise that can put them in the right direction. And if you ask the questions and find out why is the key word. You're always asking why. Then you're going to be able to put them into the right product at the right price point where everybody's going to be happy and everybody's going to make money on that. So one of my favorite stories is called Acres of Diamonds, and it's a true story, and I'm not going to bore you with it right now, but I encourage you to Google it or get on YouTube. There's some great videos for it. But literally, it's about having success right under your own feet, that you're literally standing in your own acres of diamonds. You don't have to do all this expensive marketing and go out, to the other end of the continent to try and source clients and prospects. They're right there. You just need to open up, open up your eyes, look for them. You'll see them and ask for them. It's just really as simple as that. And you'll find that that is truly a key to the success that you're going to have in here. So how do you find these new prospects? Well, this is where the Acres of Diamonds comes in. The concept of that is 92% of consumers trust recommendations from their friends and family over all forms of advertising. And this is put together by Nielsen. They're the ones that do the TV ratings around the world. 92% of consumers trust recommendations of friends and family over all other forms of advertising. So you can spend a small fortune on advertising and just get a very small return on that. Okay. Or you can trust your friends and family and reach out to your friends and family and ask for recommendations and ask for them to refer you out. And that's how you're going to build your business organically. And all it's going to cost you is a little bit of time to do it in there. So where do you start? Well, we start with our current clients. Okay, they're the best prospects. They're the ones who are happiest with you. They're the ones who've spent the money with you. So you go to them first. Next, you go to your past clients. Now, what is a past client? Is a past client, a customer, or a prospect? Well, to be honest with you, as far as I'm concerned, I would call them a prospect at this point. They've done business with you in the past, but they currently don't have a booking on the books with you. They may have actually booked with somebody else. So they're a prospect for you. So you want to reach out to them. And also the people who never booked with you, the people who contacted you but ended up booking somewhere else or not at all. These are the people that you want to start with. These are the people that you want to reach out to in this order in order to ask them for referrals, because these people have trusted you either to handle their vacations currently in the past, or they thought enough of you to at least pick up the phone, call you, or email you to learn more about your company and to inquire about your services. So you've got their contact information, reach out to them. If you're just a small 1 or 2 person agency or home-based travel professional, it's pretty easy to get that list, pick up the phone. If you operate a much larger organization, Well, then you take that list and then you divide it amongst your agents and use that whole divide and conquer philosophy there. So are they prospects? Are they clients? Well, I already gave you my opinion, but I think there's something that is more, particularly given the pandemic and given what's going on out there, is a lot of us are afraid to ask for the sale. A lot of us, we talk to our clients, we've rebooked them, we've canceled their trips, we've rebooked them, we've canceled, we've rebooked them. Now they're sitting on future cruise credits, future travel credits, or all these kind of things. Okay, you can't be afraid to ask them for the sale. And you have to give yourself permission to do that. If you don't do that, you're never going to feel confident asking. You're going to be afraid to ask for it. So give yourself permission to do that. At the same time, tell them it's okay to book it. It's okay for them to buy. They don't need to be afraid not to book their vacation packages with you. Okay, so give them that permission and use the opportunity to ask for referrals. Excuse me, because that's how you're going to build your business. These folks are going to, they're pleased with your service, whether they're booked with you currently or not. They're pleased with what you've done with them. So if you take the opportunity and ask them the question, who do you know who would benefit from my services? Could you give me the name of 3 people and the contact information? I'll reach out and tell them that you gave me their names and permission to contact them. They want to help. That's the thing. We're afraid to ask, but they want to help us. They want to see us all succeed. Oops. So the key here to pulling this all together is to have a high performance selling system. The system itself is just simply a map. It's like a road map with waypoints along the way to get you from where your starting point is to your final destination. That final destination should be to close the sale, okay, and have a customer, creating and keeping a customer out of all this. Now, what is so great about what this system is? Well, it breeds confidence. Why does it breed confidence? Because you know each step of the way. Okay, you know where you are in this. You know where you have to go once you've finished a particular segment like rapport, qualifying and research, presentation, so on and so on. It allows you to progress through the cycle. It also gives you control. When I first got into it, I was just letting the prospect talk and let them drive the conversation. That's not how you make money. That's not how you operate a professional sales business. You have to control the conversation. So we went from an hour and a half to 2 hours of spending with an individual prospect to get them into a client or not, to about 40 minutes. And that was once we started following a sales process. So it gives you the control over both the conversation and the time that goes into it. So you're able to push that through. Also, if you get lost at some point, let's say you go off on a different tangent or they start a conversation about something else, you're always able to bring it back to where you left off in the process because you know where you're going with this. So if you practice it regularly, you're going to be able to compete in every area of your business. Whether you're dealing with the suppliers, whether you're dealing with the prospects, all aspects of your business will benefit from doing this. And I'm going to go through it at a high level, pretty simple here. It starts out with rapport. Rapport is simply finding something in common with your prospect. You could be your kids, it could be the cricket match, it could be the football match, it could be any number of things, could be horseback riding, hobbies, things that you like to do. But if you ask them questions like, well, like where do you like to travel? What kind of things do you like to do? Then you're starting to hear things and you're able to find out, okay, where is it that you have things in common? And you can talk about that. That's rapport, and it can be done verbally and physically. Okay. The next step, once you have that, is you start asking the questions, who, what, why, where, and when, and all of that kind of good stuff about where they want to go, who they want to go with, and all that, to start qualifying them for their trip. The questions I would always ask would be why. So, for instance, if you have someone that comes to you and says, my husband and I'd like to take a trip to Norway. That's wonderful. Norway is one of the most beautiful places in the world. What is it about Norway that's so appealing to you? Well, we've always wanted to go, and my husband's had a lot of interest there. That's great. Why? Why is it that you really and truly want to go and see Norway, particularly, this particular part with the fjords or through Bergen or whatever? As they talk and you're asking the why questions, it will finally come out, for example, that, well, my husband's family's from Norway and he's always wanted to go visit the motherland or the homeland and see where, his father grew up and blah, 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 blah. What you've done then is you've gotten to the why. And it usually takes about 3 levels of questions to get down to that area. But once you've gotten to the why, you've got them hooked. You don't have to worry about them going to another travel agency for any means, because you've determined exactly why they want to go. And then you're able to do the research to find the right product that's going to get them out there. Then what are you going to do? You're going to give them a presentation about what you have found, because you're the expert and they are trusting you with this trip to find the best package to suit their needs. So when we're giving our presentation, how many options do we give them? It's a rhetorical question, and I'm going to give you the answer to that. You should only give one option, because you should have if you've done your qualifying and done your research well enough and asked the right questions, there should only be one option. But you should always have one in your back pocket, just in case you might have missed something along the lines there. But you'll be able to determine what types of accommodations that they want. Do they like to fly first class? Just by asking questions about previous travel experiences and things like that, you'll be able to paint a picture of what they are. So if it's that they typically stay at Ritz-Carltons or and cruise on Seabourn, well, you're not going to put them in a Holiday Inn and put them in coach to fly them up there. You're going to quote them a package that's all first class all the way. You're not going to know how to do that unless you ask the questions. Most travel professionals that I've seen will immediately, because I've secret shopped a lot of them as well, doesn't matter what you tell them, they'll go straight to what they're comfortable with, which would be the Holiday Inn and so on and so on. So instead of what will truly satisfy the customer. So once you've made the presentation, the next step is you give them permission to buy, and you give your permission to ask for the sale. So you ask for the credit. It's great. Glad you love this package. It's everything that you ever wanted for it. Would you like to put that on your MasterCard or Visa? Okay. Odds are pretty good they're going to give you the MasterCard or the Visa or the American Express. Okay. Once you've got all that, boom, you've moved on. But what if they say no? What if they say, well, I'm not quite ready to do that? What about, the options on flights? Well, now they're starting to ask more questions. So a lot of people will call these objections. I just call them questions. And all that means is you didn't answer their questions in your presentation from the qualifying. So you got to go back and you got to answer a few more things there. But then you still have to ask for the credit card again. Okay, you're giving them permission to buy and you're asking for it, and then you're able to go on through. And once you got it, then you've got certain follow-up stages in there. So you don't want to just take their money and then not talk to them until the trip. No, you want to set some follow-up things, and you can use technology to do that so that you've got some touch points in there. If they didn't buy, you want to continue to follow up as well, particularly if they bought it from somebody else. By you reaching out will set a precedent that they'll remember you more than anything else that showed how much you cared there. And then the cycle will continue on and on and on and on like that. So this is a high performance selling system. This is something that we need to embrace, and this is what the future is all about. Now, nothing I've shared with you tonight or today, because it's like 11 o'clock p.m. here in Seattle. I know it's morning where you are. Nothing that I've shared with you is any theory or fluff or anything that just might work. This is how successful entrepreneurs build and rebuild their businesses in and after times of crisis. They get back to the basics, the fundamentals of what they do to be able to make that happen. We have to be better than we were before. We have to. We can't go back. We have to move forward. We got to get better. I always like to close with this quote from Henry Ford. One of the greatest discoveries a man makes, one of his greatest surprises, is that he can do what he was afraid he couldn't do. We can't be afraid. We have to overcome those fears. We have to develop that mindset. And it is the greatest discovery, and it will be the greatest key to our success moving forward. So who am I? I've sat here. Nikita, she shared with you a little bit about information about me, but this is who I really am. I live this. I'm passionate about it. I'm an optimistic realist, is how I like to describe myself. I'm very positive, but I also get, what's real about this. This isn't going to just wish itself away. It's going to be here for a while, and we have to adapt to it. So, like many of you, I started with a dream. I actually started my career working on cruise ships to deliver the same high level of service that the client expects on their vacation. And I was able to build some very successful businesses out of it, just working off of that philosophy. I've been able to overcome many of the same challenges that you are experiencing as a travel agent and that I've done as an industry executive as well. I owned a large travel agency. I built it from scratch into a very successful business, sold it, and went into the industry side of it. Loved every bit of it. I stayed in every aspect because I find it challenging to focus on new things. But more importantly, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an experienced business coach and advisor. I ask the right questions. I'm on a mission to help you create a very successful sales focused travel business. That's who I am. That's what I'm all about. I've got no hidden agenda. I want you to be successful. I want you to overcome this and succeed and be better than what you have been and get to where you can be. So how you feeling? I want to ask this. I'd like to throw this in there at the end. You know, you probably came into this saying, I can't do it. I want to do it. Or a lot of you ask, how do I do it? And now, hopefully, I've given you some information and some tools and some things to think about that'll say, I'll try to do it. I can do it. I will do it. And then ultimately, you're going to say, yes, I did do it. So think about where you are on that and what your next steps are to get to where you need to be to create that successful sales focused travel sales business. Robert Kiyosaki, knowing that you need to make a change isn't enough. This guy wrote the books Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Knowing that you need to make the change isn't enough. You got to find the guts to do it. You've got the guts. You can do it. You can be better. Let's get out there and let's make that change and come out of this pandemic stronger than we ever were or ever thought about being going into it. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you inviting me. This is where you can find me all over the place. I'm not hard to find, and I look forward to hearing your stories. Nikita, thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you so much for such an insightful workshop. It was really lovely to hear you after such a long time, and your emphasis on how do we have to be better than before by reimagining our business. Excellent. I completely agree that we have an endless opportunity to start afresh now. And additionally, your points on price match, giving us personal freedom, all of this is so relevant in today's times. After the pandemic, we have realized how important it is to basically have your own personal freedom. When we were working from home, when we realized that family as well as work has to be given equal importance and has to be balanced well. So here I go. I have decided my boundaries and I have started dreaming about what my perfect business will look like in an ideal. And I promise not to fall back into old habits. So
spend some
yes,
time. Spend some time thinking about it. Don't just sit down for a couple of hours and really try to put your heads around it and figure out what it is you really want it to be when it grows up, and you'll do just fine.
absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Dan, for a lovely and insightful workshop on how to be better than before reimagining your travel business. We really appreciate you taking out time to come today on our platform. Thank you once again, and we look forward to having more such workshops from your end.
Fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Thanks a
I
lot.
appreciate it, and good luck, everyone.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye bye.